It's too rainy to go out to the woods today, but honestly, speaking through the water is thematically relevant this week as we've got Mercury moving into Cancer. Mercury has been full throttle for the last 2 weeks or so. Mercury in Gemini, there with the Sun, there with Uranus. It's been all the expressive Mercury possible. Mercury is the communication planet. Mercury is the transportation planet. Mercury is the one that goes from here to there, there to here. It's the in-between space, that helps to communicate or deliver or transmit ideas, this kind of thing, right? So Mercury has been in Gemini at home in that space for a little while now, but this week Mercury is moving into Cancer. Mercury in Cancer is a much more yin, impressive, rather than expressive, listens much more deeply, much more interested in feelings and what is the vibe like around here, and sort of reading the room is a good way to think with Mercury in a yin space like this. I like to see Mercury in this kind of situation. I have been a little bit exhausted, honestly, by Mercury in Gemini. Mercury in Gemini has been so talky and has a lot of ideas, and as a internet talky person, I have found that useful and helpful for podcasting and stuff like that. Maybe you should go check out the podcast. Go check out zambonifunk.com and all that. I've found it good for readings and stuff like that as well. It's easy for me to get in there, just do the talky bit of things. But I do kind of like a space where you can listen. And one of the best things about Mercury in Cancer right now is that it's present with both benefics. So we've got Venus and Jupiter both there in Cancer, and both of those planets like being in Cancer. So there is a lot of benefit to doing that kind of open listening, or maybe even not not exactly prosaic statements all the time, there's something here about poetry and metaphor and song and stuff that can really come through, especially with Venus there. Venus is the planet of arts and beauty and stuff. This is going to work really well with that Mercury. Now, the thing about this Mercury in Cancer is that there are two things that are going to sort of confound the issue a little bit. Confound meaning confuse, right? And Mercury does get a little confused in the water signs from time to time. So one of those things is that Mercury moving into Cancer puts Mercury into a square with Saturn, and so Saturn is going to be the planet that brings obstacles and challenges and difficulties, and so Mercury together with Saturn I often think of as speech impediment or something like that. It's the kind of thing that makes it difficult to say what is on your mind. Sometimes you get a stutter with that kind of thing, or you have to practice. Saturn cares a lot about the long term, so with a Saturn Mercury combination, often there will be some kind of difficulty in saying the thing, and then you have to work at it. So then that can actually turn into something that makes it more powerful, a very powerful speech ultimately in the long run, but in the short run, in the here and now where we currently are, there tends to be a little bit of difficulty there. Then that is multiplied by, pretty soon we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in Cancer, in this water sign, square to Saturn. So we are quickly entering the Mercury shadow here. So, anytime Mercury, so that is the thing about Mercury and Gemini the last couple of weeks also, is it's been full power. Mercury's been moving forward super quickly. Whenever we see Mercury moving fast in the sky, Mercury can get up to moving about 2 degrees a day. That's very fast for any planet that's not the moon. That is very good at zipping around and doing the Mercury thing. Once Mercury starts to slow down and then starts to stop and then move backwards even, then that kind of thing can turn into confusion or things, delays, things taking a long time. Mercury Saturn is really good for delays in transportation and stuff like that, you say the thing and then it comes out wrong or something like that, right? All that looks like it's really possible during this time. So we need to be aware of that as we move into this week, because the vibe shifts in a pretty major kind of way. By the way, if you want to learn how to do this kind of thing, at zambonifunk.com there is a course called Astrology from the Ground Up. You can learn how to read astrology. Reading is kind of what we're talking about here, right? Not necessarily saying the piece, there's something about doing astrology readings that is very talky. You have to interface with clients, and the first thing that a client is going to say is like, okay, so what does that mean for me, right? So you have to have a way of saying what it means for that person, but really it can be a very useful thing to just be able to look at what symbols are present in this moment and catch a vibe, understand what is happening in the space, and then it's that reading the room kind of idea here. Mercury in Cancer, I actually expect to be very good at that. So go check out, and I personally have a water Mercury. I have Mercury in Scorpio, so there's a vibe here. So go ahead, check it out, zambonifunk.com. You'll find music there and podcast and all of the other things. You can also get a reading. I'm happy to do a reading for you there. So that looks like it is gonna really shift the vibe in a pretty major kind of way, because Mercury has been so loud about everything for the last little bit. Mercury moving into Cancer does look like there's a little bit of a choke on the situation. Now, what we can also notice here is that both of those benefics are in Cancer, and they look really glorious. And so, as far as the Venus things are concerned, as far as the Jupiter things are concerned, as far as we're looking at cooperation and togetherness and harmony and growth and nourishment and helping things to grow. Now, the moon this week is in Saturn signs for basically all week, the whole work week. We've got the moon in either Capricorn or Aquarius, and so we're still going to be feeling that Saturn, right? We've got Saturn overcoming not just Mercury by degree, but then also Saturn in Aries is overcoming Venus and Jupiter. So we're going to get a bunch of Saturn, a bunch of that impediment in there. So whenever we're thinking about this, it's useful to be in the mindset of the ant, not the grasshopper. The grasshopper wants to celebrate because it is so delicious to have both of the benefics there together in Cancer, in a sign that they both like. This looks very fruitful, but the ant would like you to think about your long term. Where are we going with this? And, especially that Saturn in Aries looks like it's really what I have been saying about Saturn and Aries this whole time is it's pirate season, right? It's about sort of taking matters into your own hands and kind of disregarding the rules as such and sort of investigating what's really real in the world. One good thing about all of these Cancer planets is that they're also making a sextile to Mars in Taurus. Now, Mars in Taurus can be a little bit whiny sometimes. Mars is the action planet, the one that wants to get out here and push things around and get stuff moving. Mars in Taurus is in a Venus sign, and so this is as far away from home as possible. Taurus is opposite to Scorpio, which is Mars's domicile. So this is Mars kind of out of place Mars in Taurus is really good at kind of being a little obstinate or lifting heavy objects. So this kind of powerlifting is a great thing to do with Mars in Taurus. But there's something there that is really physical, that is really tactile about Taurus, and especially with Venus there, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, in Cancer, hanging out with Jupiter, making a sextile to this Mars. This looks like there is a lot of knowledge and utility that can come from touching the thing, like existing in physical space, embodiment practice. Looks like it wants to really, you can learn a lot from that kind of thing. And there's something about thinking into ways of understanding what bodies even are. One of my favorite games to play is what does that part of my body feel like? Because sometimes I don't know what they're like, which sensation is associated with which part of my body. I notice this after I've done some heavy lifting or something like that, and I find myself sore in a spot that I hadn't really thought of before. These are muscles that I didn't know existed, right? And then I have to come into an understanding of in this motion, then this part of my body is engaged. This is a really great week to get into that kind of understanding. That kind of understanding helps you to be in community with each other and the world at large better.